And good morning, everybody. It is Wonderful Wednesday with Karen Hand. Now, Karen, you are a blessing for our community. It was Beryl Comer, my mentor, who I know is a very good friend of yours. She kept saying to me, "Have you met Karen yet? Have you met Karen yet?" And when I did, you blew my mind away. Seriously, you are the most fabulous presenter. You're like on point. It's like, yes, this is what I want to see. And everybody sat there going like this. And you're so funny as well. But Karen, I don't know how you started this journey of yours into the hypnosis world. Do you know what? Way, tell us.
I'll share that with you. I want to say first a shout out to Beryl because she is absolutely one of my favorite people. So thank you, Beryl, for getting us together. So I started out, I didn't ever want to be a hypnotist. I didn't ever know anything about hypnosis. I had a 30-year career, a little over 30 years, in radio. I was a Chicago radio personality. And on a radio show, I invited a couple of hypnotists. A friend of mine told me about these hypnotists she knew, and I wanted to come on and make fun of people, cluck like chickens and bark like dogs. And those two intrepid hypnotists didn't do that. Those two hypnotists talk about the efficacy of hypnosis and all the things you could do with it. And I was fascinated. Mm-hmm. And I got an appointment at their hypnosis center. I got hypnotized. And at that point, I wanted to lose some weight, and I lost 50 pounds with hypnosis. But it wasn't the 50-pound weight loss that really intrigued me. It was that very first meeting. And I said, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. Now, Claudia, I've had 3 big epiphanies in my life. The first one was when I was in college and I had to do some lab hours in a radio station. My degree is in communications. And I walked into the radio station and said, oh my God, this is what I want to do with my life. The second epiphany, I was working at CBS and there was a guy walking down the hallway. I saw him from the back and he had the cutest buns I'd ever seen. And I went, I'm going to marry that man. And we met and we have been married now for over 30 years. And so that was the second epiphany. The third epiphany was over hypnosis. I walked in that hypnosis center, got hypnotized, and said, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. And the woman who turned me on to these hypnotists was also a radio gal. And she had also studied hypnosis. So I immediately started studying and knew this is what I wanted to do. And she was between radio gigs. We'd always talked about going into business together somehow. And she was between radio gigs. I was not, but I said, oh my gosh, I really want to do this. And we cooked up this scheme to open up a business. And we thought we'll have lunch together every day and it will be life in heaven. It'll be so much fun. And so I didn't sign my next radio contract. Instead, we opened a really big hypnosis center in Chicago. We employed 5 other hypnotists besides ourselves. And we had business hand over fist. Sounds great. And it was. Neither she nor I knew anything about business. We were radio chicks. And so we joined a franchise system that back in 2005 existed, a franchise system called Positive Changes. It was an affiliate program first. And then when we joined, by the time we joined, it was a franchise. And it was a great business plan because they handed us the business plan. They handed us the marketing plan. They taught us a lot about hypnosis that we wouldn't have otherwise learned in hypnosis certification. Mm-hmm. And it really did work. I'll come back to that in just a minute. Let me wrap this up by saying, in a franchise, you have to follow rules. We had to have the right carpeting. We had to have the right furniture. We had to have the right equipment. We had to use their scripts. We had to use their format. All of that was great because this other radio gal and I who started this business were the best script readers we knew. And so we knew that we could be successful, right? Mm-hmm. And that was great. We had about an 80% success rate with weight loss and smoking cessation, which is what the clinic was all about. And I worried about the 20% that it didn't work on. So I had to go back and get more training and more training and more training and more training until I could figure out how to actually effectively work with the 20% who are not somnambulists, who are not directly suggestible, who are contrarians and who are analytical folks. Mm-hmm. Analytical, so that was right up my alley. So I did all of this other training, and then I started working with these clients in very different ways. The franchise did not like that. And that's when I discovered I'm not much of a rule follower, because just because they didn't like it didn't mean that I didn't want the success. And so we had to spend a lot of money to divorce the franchise. We rolled it over into our own business. And then Claudia Life showed up, and my mother became ill. She had to move in with me. I became the hypnotist who just showed up, hypnotized people, and left. And my business partner was doing all the business running, which really wasn't fair. So we had an escape clause in our lease. Excuse me. I took all of those people that we had on contract and started seeing them from my home, which was way different than a big hypnosis center, right, with 7 offices. And I started seeing them in my home and discovered that I loved it. And this is the home office that I had been in since 2011. And it's got its own separate entrance, everything. So it's not really a part of my
Nice.
home as such. Yeah, it's wonderful. And I loved it. So that's the whole progression of the hypnosis business, and how many people start small and go big. I just don't do it like everybody else, because remember, I'm not a rule follower. I started big, and then I scaled back to what I really loved, and it was perfect for me. One of the things I want to say about what the franchise taught me that I didn't learn in hypnosis training was how everything is hypnosis. Absolutely everything is a suggestion. And the way they had us design our office was brilliant. We had to have an office in a medical building, which, by the way, is prohibitively expensive. But we had to have an office in a medical building, which meant that we never had a client who walked in asking if we would make them cluck like chickens or bark like dogs, because they were in a medical building. We were surrounded by doctors and dentists. And when they walked into our office, we had the granite countertop. We had a receptionist. They had to fill out the forms. It was just like going to the doctor. And so it's taken very seriously. So it kind of pre-qualified our clients.
It did.
Something from that. We're always communicating, and hypnosis is communication. So we had to decide what message, what suggestion we wanted to give, and give that suggestion. That's something I learned from the franchise that I wouldn't have learned from other training, but boy, does it infuse all of the training that I do now, because I believe everything is hypnosis. I also don't believe that we ought to make suggestions. I believe we ought to throw out ideas and let the client decide what they'll take, what they won't take, and be done with it.
I learned that from you as well. I love that you did this drawing of the car parks, and it was just like, yes, you're right. Am I going to actually get out of my car? And I do this. It's like, oh no, I haven't got in between the lines today. And then there's sometimes I haven't got time. So it's like, which mindset are you in? Which hypnosis mindset are you in? And that blew
Which trance are you in? That's right. And the trance can change from time to time. To translate for the Americans who are watching this, car park is a parking lot.
Oh.
And I think a parking lot is a great metaphor for hypnosis, because the suggestions are clearly drawn. They're perfectly measured and timed and complete, effective suggestions. And the people who come into the parking lot, or car park, as the case may be, they are all hypnotizable because they took the suggestion to take their car off the street and put it in a designated spot. So you know, if they're there, that they're hypnotizable, right? They can take a suggestion. And then they take suggestions in varying degrees. Some come into the parking lot in the perfectionist trance, and they perk right between the lines. Some days Claudia goes into a parking lot that way. And some days they go into the I'm in a really big hurry trance, and they just put their car any place. And it's just different trance states. And it kind of relieved me of the burden of making my clients take my suggestions. I can't make anybody do something they don't want to do. Trust me, if I could do that, I'd have been at the lottery office getting the big Powerball winnings from somebody.
Exactly.
It doesn't happen that way. So it's a dance. We have to throw out ideas and dance with the feedback.
Yeah, but it's just the way you explain it, and it's just like, oh yes, and I've used that in my own talks when I've given presentations locally, because it's like, well, why not? Because that's what we're all doing, is communicating to everybody about hypnosis. And Karen, I bought this book from you. I absolutely, I mean, it's funny as well, but I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed reading it. In fact, it's probably time I read it again, because this is the sort of book that you can read time and time again, because you'll always get something new from it. But you've got another one. Have you got it with you? Because you've got a few.
Trance is really the way that I do a session. It's throwing out an idea, taking feedback, and then dancing with it. And it really is a way to talk about how a session rolls and how we work with what I have to work with my clients' BS. They all come to me with their own BS, their belief system.
Yeah.
And I have to discover, it's my job to discover what their belief system is, how they got into that belief system, and then we'll lead them out of the belief system into something they want better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I've learned so much from you and so much from Beryl, and I just like, and from all my mentors and people that I've learned from, and it's like I've pulled here, pulled there, and it's like, that's what people get. It's like I call it a mixy blob. I love to make up words.
Well, I do too. And that's what it all is, right? Because every person you see is going to be different. They're like fingerprints. There's no carbon copy. And everybody is going to respond to something in a different way. So it's our job to use the strategy that we learned in the training that we got to help them unpack whatever they got into. I like to talk about it this way, Claudia, you may know this analogy too, about a cell phone, that we're all like cell phones. When you get a brand new cell phone, it's perfect, it's pristine, it's got everything you want on it, email and apps and games and all of that stuff. But the day you get that cell phone, you start customizing it for yourself. You download the apps that you want, and you play with the apps that you want, and you see if they work. And people are just like that. In fairness, cell phones are just like us. They were modeled after us, but go with me on the analogy. When we're born, we're born with a complete operating system. We can startle, we can blink, we can digest food, we can manage waste, we can do all of that stuff. It's a perfect operating system. And from the day that we're born, we start downloading behaviors to adapt to our specific circumstances. So mom picks us up, cuddles us, feeds us. We download, oh, warm is good, up is good. These scents are good, food is good. We start downloading those apps. And then somewhere 3, 4, 5 days into our trip here on this planet, something happens, something startles us. And we download the app. Oh, be afraid of that. I had a client who was afraid of spiders. And in some regression work, we discovered that when she was about 3, there was a tarantula walking across the floor. And mom screamed, "Don't touch it, it'll kill you." Boy, did she ever download the avoidance behavior. Because at 3, her best strategy was to avoid spiders at all costs, because they'll kill you. Yeah. So she downloaded that behavior, and it worked for her. Now, here's some hypno jargon. The next time she encountered a spider with that avoidance technique that she had downloaded, and that program was running in the background, right? The next time she encountered a spider, she screamed, and daddy came in and killed it. That compounded the suggestion that all she has to do is avoid him, and she will live. Everything will be fine. So now she's got evidential evidence of how well this program is working, and it's running in the background. And then she got older and she got married, and when there was a spider, her husband would come in and kill it. Oh, that successful program of spider avoidance is running right there in the background perfectly. And the day she called me, she was stuck on her front porch because she'd just gotten home from the grocery store, opened the front door, and there was a spider dangling right inside the front door. She slammed the door and called her husband home from work to kill the spider. Yeah. Sounds ridiculous as we talk about it logically, right? But she was performing the behavior that she had downloaded perfectly. And that was the day she decided she needed to change that and had no idea how to do it. So she came in, we did some regression back to where that was downloaded. And with informed child work, the grown-up told her, oh, you can do all sorts of things now. You can step on him. You can kill him with a magazine. You can do anything. You can get rid of him in any way. And the little one grew up with more agency. And a couple of weeks after that session, she texted me that she had encountered a spider in the shower that morning and killed it with her bare hands and then laughed as it went down the drain.
Yeah.
So
what spider?
She had new agency, and hypnosis creates homicidal maniacs. But it does. It gave her new
really, guys.
agency. She rewrote that program. And so that's how I look at it with all of my clients. They have programs running in the background. Now, going back to that cell phone, if you have apps on your phone that they don't work right anymore, they're outdated, whatever, if you delete them, your phone will be much more efficient. If you leave them running in the background, they're there ready to jump out whenever they think it's appropriate. And so we have to rewrite them or delete them or change them in some way so that they're better for us today. And fortunately, beliefs are very malleable. So we can change beliefs easily and the world runs just fine. It was that easy with that one woman because of the behavior that she had downloaded. When I figured out what her BS was, her belief system was, we were able to unwind that very easily.
I know. So, isn't it amazing? I mean, the things that we can do. I've helped somebody with, obviously snakes. I'm in North Carolina, so loads of snakes, again, spiders. So I'll share this one with you. I had a friend of mine, because I'd helped her with the snakes. We were then all going away on a vacation, and she really wanted to do the catamaran sunset cruise. She said, I can't. We're all together. She goes, I can't. She goes, I get really seasick. I can't do it. And I said, I can help. And she said, really? And I went, yeah. And so anyway, I did. And you know what? 3 sessions, and we have pictures of her hoisting the sail on the catamaran. She's drinking whiskey, she's dancing, and before that she couldn't even stand in the sea without being sick. She could go on a lake, and she also told me that she used to feel sick on the aeroplane, but she did it so many times that she actually was then okay. That's exactly what we did in hypnosis. She did the catamaran ride and she was a teacher. So she used to be a teacher. So she did her homework and she listened to the recording. She had already, by the time she did that catamaran ride, she'd already done it probably about 1,000 times because that was the new belief. So, yeah, she was fine.
It's a wonderful thing. What we do is magical. I have right on my website, hypnosis isn't magic, hypnosis isn't voodoo, hypnosis is you do. Yeah. And how do I believe that? But our magic comes in the strategy we use to help our clients do what it is they say they want to do, but just haven't figured out a way to do it yet.
That's right. And we guide and we help and because we use our intuition on that bit, and we get curious.
And we get in trouble if we think we're responsible for their change, because we aren't. We cannot make their change for them. They have to be held accountable for their change. I can't do it for them. They have to do it. But when they do it, it feels magical.
Yeah. It really does. I love it. I could listen to you and chat to you all day long. So, Karen, you're speaking at HypnoThoughts, aren't you? I'll see you next at HypnoThoughts.
Yes, I can't wait. HypnoThoughts is my favorite. Absolutely. I've got 2 talks, Claudia. Do you mind if I mention them?
No, please go for it.
Freestyle hypnosis, no script, no problem, is a 2-hour workshop that I'm doing on how to do hypnosis if you don't have a script for it, or how to do hypnosis if your client calls and says, oh, I have an issue with confidence. And you say, come on in, I can do that. And they sit in your chair and they say, I couldn't say it over the phone, but it's really erectile dysfunction. Now, what do you do then? Because maybe your confidence script will work and maybe it won't. So you sometimes need things really on the fly where you don't have time to do research. I hypnotized a woman one year at HypnoThoughts on the casino floor. She found out I was a hypnotist and she said, oh my gosh, I'm deathly afraid of driving over bridges. Can you help me with that? Right there in the coffee shop, we did hypnosis and it helped her. So I couldn't go grab a script for that. I don't think it's very effective. When someone says, can you hypnotize me? And I say, oh, sure, but you'll have to make an appointment in my office for 2 weeks from now.
I agree.
seem like hypnosis to me. That seems like it ought to be able to be done. So I like to have something on the fly. So one is freestyle hypnosis, no script, no problem. I'll teach you exactly how to do it to make that so easy that you'll do it immediately after the session is over. And then when you go back to your office too. And the other talk I'm giving is borrowing benefits from EMDR. You know, EMDR has a lock on those letters. There's nothing magical about those letters, except that we immediately know what they're talking about. But they won't let or train lay people to use it. Remember, Dave Ellman wouldn't train lay people to use hypnosis either. So, all right, we won't call it EMDR, but boy, can we borrow the benefits and borrow the techniques. And that's what I'll teach you in that talk.
Right. Because that's in the bunny talk. That's the eye movements.
And we use them in all sorts of things. We're always using them all the time. So let's just borrow the benefits and call it bunny talk, or call it whatever you want to call it.
No,
call it EMDR.
No, I call it, it's bunny eye movements.
Yeah, and you can do it without the expensive light bar too.
Yeah.
But if you want a light bar, you get a really inexpensive laser light and use it. I'm just saying, you can use it. I'll teach you some techniques in that talk that requires no equipment.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, so many people are using bilateral stimulation. And when you think about it, people who are doing horse riding, left and right, knitting, left and right. Yeah, left and right. There's so many things, you know, playing the piano. It's like you're using the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. You know, we all know this, and it's just like, oh, I didn't think of that. And of course, there's so many other people that are using this. I love it because it works.
And you got, I think, to the crux of what it is that we do. And it's my new effort, Claudia, my newest effort. A lot of people like to have hypnosis be mysterious and wondrous and magical and all of that, and that's fine. We'll keep that. People will still not really understand hypnosis. But what I like to teach my clients and my students is that we are using hypnosis every single moment of every single day. Mm-hmm. We're taking information in and making a decision about what we want to do with it. And according to our programming, or those programs that are running with us, we're deciding on things that we do. But we're using this all the time. In a relationship, as an example, Claudia, have you ever had a relationship where you broke up with somebody and went, what did I ever see in that person?
Yeah.
You were using hypnosis there because you were positively hallucinating attributes on that person they didn't possess.
Mm-hmm.
That's positive hallucination, and that's very deep hypnosis.
Oh, isn't it?
Have you ever looked around the house for glasses or keys and couldn't find them, and they're right there on the table? That's a negative hallucination. You're negatively hallucinating something that's right there in front of you. So since this is human nature and the way we run our minds anyway, why not normalize it and teach people how to play mind games that work for them rather than play mind games that hurt them? And so that's what I'm in the business of doing, is teaching people how to play those mind games to the most effective outcome for themselves.
Yeah. I love that. And I love how you give so much at these presentations that you give at the various conferences. You know, they're real true takeaways. And I use plenty of them. As I've said, you know, when I think, oh, I'm going to use that, I'm going to use that, I'm going to use that. And that's what it's about, isn't it? It's why people go to the conferences.
Right. It takes one to know one, Claudia. I have just as much respect for you. I think you're brilliant. And let's keep doing what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I've got 2 talks. I'm talking on we are not our behaviors, we are our good intention, and sharing a diagram, and then and some stories. And then again, I've got a 2-hour one on the Sunday. Again, it's an interactive first session with a client. But in fact, funny enough, and again, I will probably expect to do a demonstration just to show how quick you can jump from, you know, you might think, oh, there. But I don't know if you do this, but I do. If I get a client sort of like suddenly crying over something that, you know, they're coming in, I'm going to deal with it there and then with the eye movements. Yeah.
Well, I don't consider that an ab reaction at all. That's catharsis. And I'm never going to be the person to say, don't cry, or here's the Kleenex. Because that's what
I encourage
in life. Yes, that's what they've been told their entire life. I have Kleenex in the office, but if they want one, they have to grab it because I'm not going to feel.
Oh, I'm a bit kinder than you.
I don't think anybody would call me the kind hypnotist.
No.
I am the BS detector.
Yes, you are. Yes. No, I do because I know what it's like to have your nose running. But it's but I love that. So yeah, and I love these conferences, and I would encourage anybody if you're still sitting on the fence about going to HypnoThoughts Live, because it's such a wonderful atmosphere, and there's just some fabulous people there to meet. There really is.
By the way, if you don't like huge conferences, which HypnoThoughts is, go to one of the smaller regional conferences. Join Claudia and me at Mid-America, a Hypno World Mid-America in October in Chicago. That's a smaller conference. And, you have a little bit more time to kind of buddy up to somebody. I don't think Mid-America is going to always be a small conference, but it is now. So if you like smaller ones, join us there.
Yeah. And actually, Richard Bandler's the keynote speaker there this year.
Yeah. And by the way, if you do register for Mid-America, say that you're referred by Karen Hand.
And Claudia.
I would steal your referral for a moment if I could. On your program, right?
Both. That's hilarious.
And he has a little competition going amongst the speakers. So if you get the most referrals, you'll get something, a prize or something.
Yes.
It's good, make it fun.
Oh, that's so funny. I love it. You're still sort of like cussling there.
Not really, not very much, but just when it's fun.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you for coming on, Karen, and thank you for watching, everybody. And it's goodbye from me, Claudia Rickard, and it's goodbye from...
Thank you for having me, Claudia.
Karen Hand.
All right. See you soon.
Yeah.